Hey, what's up, everybody? Sasquatch Runner here. Whoa. And we're just coming on to do a quick recap on the Mammoth 214 milers that my friend Remo ran and made it through and had a whole bunch of other fun afterwards. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But so I came out to crew him at this Mammoth 200 race. He had a super spreadsheet layout, which was very, very informative. And anyways, he basically had all the stops, crew stops, where he was going to come in. There was a column on the sheet that basically showed stuff that he was carrying in his pack that needed to be replaced. So his bottles, and which bottles you needed: salt, water, and then gels and snacks and things like that. And then in another column, he had like that actual aspect of the food, snacks, gels that he needed to take with him for the next section. So he made it super easy. So basically I had a little table that I set up every time, and then I had the drinks already pre-made, so when he came in, I would just grab his bottles, fill them up, and then we changed trash, or took anything out that he didn't need in his pack. And then I also had food ready for him. He ate at the beginning. He ate a lot of mashed potatoes and like sausages, meatballs rather, and he did that for a while, about maybe half or pretty much the first day or so. But then going into the second day, he said the meatballs weren't really sitting with his stomach anymore. So we didn't really do a whole lot of that. But that was a big staple for the first day. And he had this little warmer, like a plate warmer. You just plugged it in. I had a battery pack thing. You could also plug it in off of your car if your car has an outlet. Or if you had a converter to use your cigarette lighter. But anyways, that just heated up the food, and so I would preheat that food before he came in, watching his tracker. And anyways, he would eat that, and then on the table, so while I changed out the bottles, he's eating. On the table, I have all the stuff set out for the next leg that he has to go. So if he had like 3 gels, a bar, 2 bars, and chips, I just had those out so he could just grab those, put them in his pack, and off he went. Now there was a couple sections where it was pretty long, so he had to take just extra salt and stuff like that, because he was using the aid stations in between to refill his bottles. And so he had all this planned out, and so I would just make sure he had all that stuff. And it was kind of cool because in the later times, like the second day or so, of course he's tired, and I have all the stuff, and he's like, do I have to take all that stuff? And I was like, yep, that's what your sheet says, because you have 18 miles to the next time I crew you, and you're going to hit a water stop in between or an aid station. So he's like, oh, okay. So again, made it super easy for crewing in that aspect. And then basically that's it. And then he'd change his shoes or change his socks. He actually didn't only change shoes one time, and then he would change his socks a couple times. And again, he would have it listed on the sheet that where the aid station was, where he wanted to do that. So, this thing's kind of pretty wild moving around. He would have it listed, and then I would get all the sock stuff ready, and I would basically just always have his clothes bag open. So we had a chair, we had the table, and then just all this food and stuff. And then I would just also set up different drinks that he had in case he wanted something else, and he could just see it and then grab it and start eating or drinking that. So, and this was just repeat. He had 13 aid station stops, and some of those during the night. There was a couple we had to hike in, so we parked, and there really wasn't a we, it was just me, but I parked along with all the other racers and crew guys that were there. And one time we had to hike in, I think it was about a mile. It was actually a pretty good hike, and that was in the middle of the night. And by the time I got there, planned out the hike, grabbed all the stuff and took it in. Luckily he had just gotten there, and so it was good timing. What I did realize on that one aid station stop though is that we could have actually drove in a little bit farther in, and then it would only been maybe like a half-mile walk in. But on the way out, I just came out just a little bit, dropped all the crap down, hightailed it, got the car, drove back in, picked it up, and away we went. So for the most part, it was a grind. I probably, over those 3.5 days, I probably got about 18 hours of sleep, and it was in chunks of 2 hours, maybe 3 hours. I think the most I got one time consistently was like 4 hours. And there was a couple times as the race course went around the lake, and it was on a far, like the farthest section. I stayed out there because it was like a 75-minute drive to get back, and it was kind of in the middle of the night. So I stayed there for one of those sections, but then on the next one, when it was like 15 minutes closer, 50-minute drive, I drove back. And so even though we had like a 4-hour time in between, I drove back. That was an hour. I slept for like 2 hours, and then I got up and I drove back. And so those times are probably the hardest, in the middle of the night and driving back and forth. But then as he got closer and coming back around to Mammoth, those stops ended up being like 20-minute drives out, 20-minute back, and then there was a couple that were only like 10 minutes. So in between those, I was coming back and forth to the Airbnb and just kind of hanging out and chilling, grabbing breakfast. Probably the second day, I started grabbing food for him at Mammoth Village, and I would stop and get like breakfast burritos. That was his go-to. So we got some burritos. One time I got pancakes. Lee was out at Lee Vining, so I stopped, and they got a great place out there called the Wahoo Cafe. Wahoo! And great breakfast inside this gas station, and huge pancakes. Everything was good. So if you're a crew, hit that place up when you guys get close to Lee Vining if you can. And he ate the food there, and then away we went. And plus I was grabbing food for myself, and away we went. And then I grabbed pizza inside Mammoth Village, and then took that out to him, and then a hamburger. He never ate the hamburger, and it had been out. It was in the cooler there for half the day, and then he just didn't want it. So I was excited because I wanted it. I was ready to eat. So on the drive back to the Airbnb, I macked it down. It was pretty good. But overall, that was kind of it. Great layout by him, setting out everything he needed. Very, very well strategic and planned out. And then all the things he needed to take with him. Times he was going to sleep, and which he only slept like literally like an hour, and really 30 minutes on the first one. He said he didn't really sleep that much or at all because he just kind of wasn't ready, and he could hear a lot of stuff, and it was more noisy. On his second sleep, he slept pretty solid. He passed out right away, and he was pretty delusional. It was funny when he came in, he was seeing a hovercraft and lights, and it was good times. Animals in the sky. I think those are mostly from the clouds, but they were good. Anyways, super easy to crew. Thank you, Remo, for making my job easy and laying all that out. Other than that, I can't really. I went on a little bit of run on the first day before I had to meet him at mile 32. And the rest of the time was just driving around crewing, making sure you didn't get lost. And fortunately, Mammoth did a pretty good job with all their pin drops and how to get there. And I did get turned around on one drop at night, but it's because I missed the turn, and I was basically on the running course, and I saw a runner coming at me, and I'm going down this dirt road, and I was like, oh man, I had to turn off the lights and just wait for the runner to pass, because one, there really wasn't enough room, and two, I just didn't want to blind out the runner with my lights. And so anyways, but that was my fault for getting off track there. But now Remo finished. He was at mile 202, and then went up to the last aid station up at the Mammoth. They had to summit it twice, which is around 207 miles. And then a big storm rolled in, and a huge flash lightning, damn near hit the guy, knocked him over. And yeah, it was intense. If you saw some of the videos from Mammoth, super intense. There was a couple guys that had some, they videoed while they were going up too, and it was hard. It was harder to see than 20 feet in front of you, and it's super windy, super cold, and that storm rolled in. Anyways, fortunately, and thank goodness, thank the Lord, he was okay, and got shooken up quite a bit, but he made it up to the top along with the other guys, and they were on a hold for, I don't know, 45 minutes to an hour or something, let the storm pass through, and then they were cleared to go. But Remo decided to wait, and he wanted the storm to move out a little bit more. Then it was still kind of in the area, kind of, conditions were windy and wet and crazy still, but he was just going to wait. And then once it got a little bit too late, then he just decided that he was going to stay up there at the checkpoint. It's inside the ski patrol area, so they were inside sheltered, and it wasn't like a full-on cabin or anything like that. It's just basically a little hut, a room. I think there was a bathroom in there, but at least there was heat and some soup. And anyways, the guy just crashed out up there all night long, and I just chilled out, got ready. I had to be back at work the next day, at Tuesday, so I got up and left at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning. However, it freaking rained all dang night long. So I woke up about 1:30 a.m. It was pouring down rain. I actually thought there was a water leak or something inside the Airbnb, and once I figured out it was rain, I was like, whoa, that's not good. It's probably going to be yucky up there on top of that mountain. And sure enough, I got up and left. It was still raining. Come about 7:30, 8 o'clock, sunlight's up. I'm already a couple hours away from Mammoth, but I'm finding out that it snowed like crazy up there, and it froze, and so you had that crunchy ice snow all over the mountain. It was deemed unsafe, so the race directors did a good job, and they halted any more people from going up that. They rerouted the course, and then they had to send a vehicle up to get Remo and I guess some other people that were still hanging up there, and bring them down and then drop them off at the reroute and then finish. Well, by the time all that was done, it was probably around 11:30. Fortunately, I was home, back to Vegas, and I was watching them on the live stream, so I got to see them finish, and it was super cool. Sorry I missed out, couldn't be there live in person, but hey, that's it. We had to get back to work, and but I'm super glad he finished, and it's just a whole bunch of stuff. Now, if you follow Remo on his Instagram or any of his social media, he got back, rested up, and later in the afternoon, he started having really bad stomach pain. And so he ended up going to the emergency room in Mammoth, and they did a CT scan on him, and they basically found out he had like a tear, perforation in his intestines, somewhere in his stomach, and not good. This guy needed surgery ASAP. And so while Mammoth emergency room was not equipped to do this, they had to airlift him out to Reno. So in the middle of the night, he's flying up to Reno. As soon as he lands in Reno, they basically prepped him for surgery, and away they went. Came out of surgery, and come to find out, he had an ulcer that had busted, and that's what tore part of his lining in the intestine. Again, fortunately, thank the Lord, everything was good. The surgeons were great. They took care of him. All the doctors, nurses got him back, and he spent the week in the hospital basically hanging out and just recovering. And he flew back home yesterday, so he's back home. Glad you're back home, buddy, and resting in your own bed in your own home, and hanging out with the fam and the cats. His wife did fly up, and his kid flew up to be with him, so they were there all week. They hightailed it up as soon as they found out he was going to be in surgery. But just what a crazy story for Mammoth. 214 miles actually, and I don't know why they call it Mammoth 200. They should just call it Mammoth 214 if they're going to make it 214. Anyways, has a better ring, right? Mammoth 214. And anyways, that was it. So it was a great time. Loved crewing it. Again, guy made my job easy. Heck of a story afterwards, during and after, and I'm glad everybody was safe and finished it up and had fun while we were out there. If you guys have any questions, let me know. Hit me up, drop me a DM, message me. But I'm getting ready to crew for another guy named David Castro. He is running the Route 66 140, so we'll be doing that next month now in November. And I'm excited for that one too, because I'm going to help out pacing a little bit, and let's go have some fun out there on Route 66 once again. All right, we'll talk to you guys later. Peace.